Great. Well, welcome everybody to our open forum webinar. As I mentioned, the design of this was to email questions ahead of time or ask them as we go along. So why don't we just go ahead and get started with the questions that Derek had emailed in, and it was about inventory. And it said, he says specifically to understand the use of the Buyout Quick Part feature. And we'll talk a little bit about the use of brand ID and how it's used and how it was designed to be used. So with that being said, I really come at the Buyout Quick Part feature from the perspective of a user. And it really is two different features. One depends on whether or not you're tracking inventory or not. If you're tracking inventory, you have the ability under Setups and under Inventory Setup to add catalog parts to inventory lists or add these buyout parts to your inventory list. And what this does is it takes this little checkbox primarily takes that field and converts it really to a quick part. Because a buyout doesn't necessarily go into your inventory. And if you have this box checked, it automatically will put all these parts into inventory. So really you're changing that feature from buyout to a quick part. And quick part just means it's a quicker way to enter that part into inventory. That's really the only difference. So let's look at that real quick, and I'm going to have Mark talk to us a little bit about the philosophy behind that when they designed that feature. So let's take a look. So when we are in a repair order and we select the labor and click on Add Part, and we have the option here, Buyout Quick Part. This is a screen that comes up. It's called a Buyout Quick Part Sales Detail Information screen. Now, remember what I just said, I have it set up in my inventory setup to add these parts, anything added through this buyout feature to my inventory. You can see the box is checked right here by default, add to the inventory list. So really what this becomes is a quick part, and it's just a new way to enter things. So let's just put in a fake part number, test part, has my description, and we of course have the option here to call it whatever we need to, change a condition, which of course is very, very important. And then let's say if it was refilled, we could check the box here, and this turns on the core tracking. I'm going to leave this on new for right now for this example. So brand ID is something that if you import a part from a catalog into your system, or if you go to an online parts ordering system and order a part and import it into your repair order, it automatically will fill this brand ID. But this right now is user definable. We really don't run any reports or run any searches on it right now. But that's what that was designed. Yes.
Can I break in here real quickly? Brand ID is extremely important if you import from WorldPack or any number of other online vendors, because if you have a part number in your system and you import that from a vendor and you don't have the same brand ID that that vendor gives you, then it will literally create another part thinking that it's a different part, because there's lots of parts out there that have the same part numbers. And so the only way to really tell based on importing from a vendor is does it have the same part number and does it have the same brand ID? By putting that brand ID in or allowing the brand ID to go in from the vendor when you first import it, any other time, any future time that you buy those parts and import them from the vendor, it's going to look at that brand ID and say, is this the same part that's already in stock?
So do all of our online parts catalogs populate this field?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Okay. So Napa, anything through well, obviously through WorldPack, we know that through WorldPack.
WorldPack specifically is where it started, but yes, the other ones do as well. And we're always looking at brand ID because there's no way to really tell is that part the same. Now, what we've done in the new version that's not out yet is if it finds the same part number but doesn't necessarily see the brand ID, it's going to pop a list of the parts that have the same part number and say, are any of these the same one that you're importing? Because it doesn't know. and then it's going to go ahead and give you that option.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. So, again, I'm treating this as a quick part, right, guys, because I am actually adding this part to inventory, so it's not necessarily a buyout. So I just put in whatever my cost is for the part, and my list is this. Obviously, is using my parts price matrix to come up with this. But when I hit OK Save, so this is going to add my part, and then I go to Exit, it's going to prompt me to order it. See, if I weren't adding it to inventory, it wouldn't care. So it wouldn't give me this notice that says the following parts on your repair order are not in stock, need to be ordered. Because if I weren't adding it to inventory, again, it doesn't care whether or not it goes in or out. But it's important that you have a cost in there, of course. So let me go ahead and exit without ordering and go back into that one. So you'll notice it looks like a regular part. You know, the sales detail information screen changes. I can't at this point say, you know what, I don't want to put this in my inventory. I don't want it. I want it to be a, a real true blue buy out part, which means I'm buying it out. I'm buying it for the one time only. I don't really want to track it. I don't need any of that kind of information. Which, please feel free to jump in when we talk about this. If you have a buyout part and you don't add it to inventory, we really don't have a way to look up that part or through the part search or look up the part purchase history unless we actually go into the actual repair order that it was sold on and look up who we bought it from in that screen. Is that correct?
Correct. Okay. Yeah, if you don't tell the system that you bought it through a vendor invoice, it doesn't know you bought it. And so there's no way for us to be able to track that.
Okay. So, I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever talked to any shops that haven't used this screen always as a quick part, not a buyout. The one exception, I always tell folks that are going to use the accounting system, because you guys all know I'm always pushing accounting on you all. I always say if you were to go into the back 40, go into the back of your shop, and you've got a junk car out there, and you're going to go pull something off of, I don't know, a fan blade or something out of an old junk car, and then you're going to sell that to a customer. See, there, you think about it, I really don't have a restock invoice. I really don't have a way to get that into my system. So that's when I tell people, well, just use the buyout feature for that. And, you don't have to add it to your inventory. And when it asks for cost, you do legitimately leave it at 0 because there was no cost associated with that fan blade that you pulled out of that junk car in the back. And as I always remind folks, I think it's really, really important that everything you do in MaxxTraxx follows as closely what you're doing in real life. It kind of keeps you out of trouble. That way, if you're not sidetracking things and finagling different things, then it keeps your numbers clean. Your sales numbers, your expenses, just keeps everything clean. So that's a little bit about the buyout and the quick part differentiator. Derek, you were the one that asked me the question. Give me some feedback. What did you find? What did you think about that explanation? And does it make sense? And more importantly, is it useful?
Right. It kind of makes sense, but I think what was confusing me was that the buyout and the quick part were both on the same screen. I didn't realize that by just basically unchecking the add to inventory list button that it would turn it into a into a quick part. Where it looks like you said, you got a part from from the back, out of one of the junk car or something like that.
Right.
But I do have a question. Is there a difference between an inventory list and your parts list, or is that both one of the same?
That's right. It is one and the same.
It is. Okay. So it's okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to join. Paul just joined us. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us. I just unmuted your microphone, just so you know. What we do have the ability to do, though, let me get out of here, is we have the ability to run parts based on whether or not they're stocking or non-stocking. So let's go. Let's look at the general inventory list for. I think this one will do it. I can say here. God, someone's got a lot of background going on there. I can say here I want to include stock parts or not. Not non-stock parts. You just check what you want to include. You also have the ability to include buyouts. Now, correct me on this one, Mark. If you put a part on an RO as a buyout and you told it not to include it in inventory, it wouldn't show up on here. It would only show up on here if you entered it through the buyout feature and checked add part to inventory, right?
Well, you've got to remember when you open up a part record, it has a checkbox in it that says that it was a buyout. Let's go back and look at a part record if we can. At least it used to. Let's go look at that.
Okay.
She is buyout part right there. So in other words, that came in through being a buyout part. That's how it was originally. It did create a part record, but it also was brought in as a buyout originally. So now you can say, I want to look at all the parts that were brought in by buyout as a buyout or not brought in as a buyout with that in that report. That's your choice. Now this is buyout is kind of important because a lot of people want to track their inventory, their ins and their outs, and their purchases from their vendors, but they don't necessarily want to jam up their inventory with a massive amount of parts. So what you do is when that part comes in, when you put that part onto an invoice as a quick part buyout, it's going to then create, if you have the box checked to say add to inventory list, it's going to create this part record. Then what will happen is you can go ahead and order it, purchase it, go through the entire accounting function that goes with it, but later on down the line when you don't want to look at this part anymore, you can go into the utilities section and you can say purge all my buyouts, and it will riffle through all their inventory and the inventory list, and if it finds any buyouts that do not have a quantity, because they should not have a quantity. If you bought it and you sold it, it should be 0. Every buyout that does not have a quantity can then be purged. And what it does is it dumps it out of inventory.
Now, when it dumps it out of inventory, can you still check the box that says view deleted parts, or is it gone forever?
I think it's still there. It just marks it as deleted.
Well, let's look here. So here's a camshaft seal. That's the one I was looking at. It's a buyout part. It's checked as a buyout part. And let's do that utility. New one for me.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done it, so I'd have to.
Okay. This utility will delete all buyouts that have no stock on hand and are not on open ROs, POs, or vendor invoices. So buyouts will no longer show on my inventory list. Are you sure you want to continue? Let's say yes.
I think they might go away permanently, so let's go check it out.
So let's see how many I'm removing. So what, about 25, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to my part search. So here is my camshaft. And this was marked as a buyout.
Yeah, we'll go look and see if you have quantity.
Stock. Nope.
Stock.
Don't have any purchases. So I can tell that I bought both of these, from online ordering. What was that?
He also said unless it's on an open RO.
Is that on open RO?
I don't think so. I think I just have oil filters on these guys.
Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
So what would be the reason for...
Or it could be on an open PO as well. Okay, open PO, open RO.
Let's look. Oh, okay, those are oil filters. You guys can see all my demo material. Yeah, I don't see it on there. Let me check my restocks real quick, make sure I don't have any open ones. What was that, Derek?
So what would be the purpose of purging the buyouts anyways? I mean, if you want to keep track of the part, I mean, who knows, maybe in 6 months somebody may come in and want that part again.
It's true. I mean, I would never do it, but you'd be surprised how many people say, I really don't want to jam up my inventory list with a bunch of parts that I'll never order again or never buy again. So by leaving that checkbox on there is buyout, it deletes it, and you don't have to look at it again. If you don't want it to delete it, then just go in there and undo the checkbox and just say undo the is buyout, and it won't delete it. Now, Sabrina, I want to go back and look at that because that has let's look at that that part again,
Camshaft?
if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Open it up.
Yeah, let me write the number down.
Buyout part. Is this general ledger? This certainly should have been deleted. Camshaft part. Unless it's somewhere that we're just not seeing it, it should have deleted it. I've never seen it not work. So that's something we're going to have to look at.
When I order an online part, let's say from WorldPack, and I bring it over, and is this box going to automatically be checked?
If you have it set up that way.
Okay, so
if you go in your inventory setups.
Yeah, so I have it under my inventory setups. I want to do it both ways, and I think this, I'll be honest with you, this has always been a struggle for me, so I always just don't use it. I'm so glad you brought up this question, Derek. And again, I'm all about tracking your inventory, so that's also why I would definitely always use it. So I'm going to add my buyouts to inventory list. What about add my catalog parts to inventory list? Should I leave that checked?
Well, that's what adds it to it. Otherwise, it just brings it in as a buyout. Okay.
Okay. So let me uncheck this one and go get a part from WorldPack. So let's do this. Get some labor on there. In fact, let me do it from next. Who do I want to go to? This one. I think this is set up.
Now, while she's doing that, if you want to have a list of parts, and I think, Daryl, you brought this up, if you want to have a list of parts that aren't part of your inventory list, you can do that. And it's called the catalog. We have an internal catalog that you can build into the system, where you could go ahead and get a big list of parts if you want to, put them into an Excel spreadsheet, and then import that spreadsheet into our built-in MaxxTraxx catalog. And you could have, and you could just drop it in there, give it a name, and as many as you want to. If you want to, you could have a list of tires, you could have a list of brake parts, you could have a list of anything you really wanted to, or a particular list of a vendor's stock that you buy from. It will keep it in the list of catalog parts, but it won't put them into your inventory part list until you actually put them on a repair order.
Interesting. We'll look at that in a minute, too. So here's that screen, Mark. Here's the part match. It says the following parts from your inventory have the same part number as the one you're adding. So it saw this duplicate part number, so I just say yes, right? Okay. Let me do one that I know I don't have. I want to do a part from next part that I know I've never ordered before, something less common. Okay, let's do something in here. Do fuel pump.
Is the only real way, or I shouldn't say the real way, but the best way to differentiate from your actual, inventory like filters and bulbs and bolts and stuff, and the stuff that you bring in from the parts stores is to have them either marked as a buyout, which would be basically the selling stock from the store, and then the ones that aren't marked as buyout is your true actual core inventory?
Well, actually, the way to tell the difference between a part that are you basically saying the part that I want to keep in stock on a regular basis versus the part that I buy? Okay. The way to tell that, and it's real simple definition. Okay, if you have a minimum quantity of stock on that part, then that's the part that you want to keep in stock. That's your differentiator right there. Do I have a minimum and a maximum? If I've got a minimum and a maximum, it now knows by definition I want to keep it in stock. If you have a zero minimum and a zero maximum, that's just a part that flows through inventory with really no logic behind it saying I want to keep this one in stock all the time, because you don't have a minimum that tells the system that you want to keep that there. Does that make sense?
Okay.
In a part record, Derek, under stock.
Okay, that makes sense. So can you run, after you have that set up that way with your minimum and maximum set up other than zero, is there a way to run a report just on your inventory that you normally stock?
Yes, you can. And that was that report that Sabrina pulled up earlier, and it had one of the options was show only parts with minimums and maximums.
Okay.
So what I did on this one, Derek, is I went into my setups and I set up my program to add catalog parts to my inventory. So I added this one, which had never been in here before, front brake pads. Love that description. And it looks like Market does automatically put it in brand ID.
Yep.
And then it also checks the box buyout part right here automatically, even though it says don't add buyouts to my inventory list.
No.
But because I put catalog parts to my inventory list, it showed up.
Yeah, but it was a catalog part that showed up. Yes.
So
Now go into your
my setup. So I had this. Oh, wrong one. Inventory setups. This is where I said add catalog parts to inventory.
Exactly right.
Right. So let's. You want to look at that inventory reorder report?
Yeah, I'll show them that. Well, was it the reorder report or was it a general report?
Oh, general report. So here, you want to just add.
Okay, see where it says include stock parts? Include stock parts. That's it right there.
I'm going to say all parts and include stock parts. And I just, by the way, put a quantity on those brake pads, pretending like, oh, from this point forward, I'm going to go ahead and inventory those. So click OK. So here's everything in my system that I have a best quantity and a minimum quantity of. And this tells me, for example, I need to order 8 because I don't have any of these tires that I like to stock. Where's that one that I just entered? I want to take a look at this. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's because I haven't saved it yet.
Well, you haven't sold
Which
it,
one?
so it hasn't gone.
Well, the
this
part
is
that
general
I
inventory. Well, you created the record. Okay. Now, what was that part number?
17D707.
17B707. Okay.
And all I did was give it a minimum quantity, and a best quantity. So if maybe I need to order it once.
Well, is it in stock?
Here, no, I don't have any in stock. So here's, if I were to, so what I did, guys, I'm just opening up the RO, highlight the part line, and right-clicking to get to the master record. This is another way that I can do it instead of going through part search. So here, I don't have any in stock, but I just added best quantity and minimum quantity on this guy. So you need to order 5.
Right.
Oh, this isn't, but, okay, this isn't a reorder report, though. Maybe I actually need to stock it into my system once before it becomes a stocking or non-stocking part. Is that a possibility?
I don't think so. So let's go back
report?
and look at it again.
Inventory, inventory list, run report, and I'm going to say just include stock parts.
No, wait a second here. Okay, all quantity. Okay, that's fine.
All quantity, all parts, and then click OK.
I should find it.
So I don't see that 117D.
Go to your next page.
I don't have another page, just the one.
Well, you don't have any other pages. You only have those.
Yeah, it's just demo material. I don't have a whole lot to work with.
And maybe you do have to purchase it first. It's possible.
So quantity on hand. Let's try it. Just maybe the first time.
Do me a favor before you do that. Let's go back to the report again, okay?
Yep, this one. And inventory reports, general inventory list. Run report.
Now do me a favor.
Yes.
Let's leave them all checked. Okay.
Okay.
And then run.
Make sure.
Let's see. Yes.
Okay, so it's part number 17D. Actually, I'm going to leave it really teeny small for a second just so that I don't cut off my page. Oh, there it is. So it is showing up.
17D707.
Is buyout. So I can't.
It's still okay. It's showing it as a buyout because that's correct. It's got a negative. Now let's go back and do that report again.
Okay. General inventory.
Did it before.
And just this time.
Yeah, get rid of those.
Well, you just unclicked include buyouts.
Yeah, you need to do that. Go ahead and click that now.
So, okay. So let's see. Well, you'll see almost all my parts are buyouts.
There it is.
Almost everything
there it is right
I get
there,
from.
Okay. See there, it found it because it was also a buyout.
So then technically that should be unchecked as a buyout so that you can get it to your core inventory.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
mind,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once you've decided that that's a part, once you've decided that's a part that I want to keep in stock, you want to unclick that it's a buyout because at that point in time, it no longer is. Now, quite honestly, I think that's a flag that we need to put into the software. That as soon as you put a quantity, a minimum or maximum quantity, it unclicks buyout. And I'm going to write that down. It shouldn't force you to do it. Shouldn't force you to do it manually.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to pursue, Sabrina, is find out why it wasn't showing on there, because that was it should have shown, and the reason it wasn't showing is because it was still seeing it as a buyout and a stock part. It can't be both.
Can't be both.
Right.
Can't be both. Okay.
But the difference is, at least in my system, I always treat the way that I'm set up here under setups. I always treat every part that comes into my system, unless I use the buyout feature specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I treat every catalog part, which frankly is 80% of every part that I would ever sell comes from a catalog part, because I do almost exclusively online ordering.
Well, and that's how. And if you have all the online ordering vendors around you, there's really no reason to do it any other way, because it gives you full cataloging. You can find it by make, model, and area of the car, and you get your latest pricing, and it handles all your accounting at the same time. So that's the best way to go.
Right. Right.
Okay. So let's move on there.
Good question.
So, real quick, so that one of the things I liked most about the program was the cataloging. So putting a mental picture to this, my inventory is a bucket of data. That is the stuff that I have on the shelf. And then my buyout is a bucket of stuff that is from my online ordering. And so then lastly, the other bucket is if you're doing tires or you had a particular brand of any product that you were buying but you couldn't get on an online ordering, that creates another bucket. If they'll give you that in a spreadsheet, it won't clutter your database. And so an example is if you were doing tires and you were getting Toyo tires. Well, Toyo will give you a spreadsheet with all their tires, but instead of cluttering your inventory with 1,500 numbers, it sits in a bucket that you can access outside of your inventory, so you can just reach into that bucket, throw it onto your ticket without having to key anything in. It's as if you went to WorldPack, but instead what you did is you went to an equivalent, just a bucket of part numbers, not cluttering, and brought it in.
Right.
Exactly.
And I don't see people use that real often, but it can be huge if there is some product that you get repeatedly that you don't want to inventory, but you don't have online access to. This is another way of accomplishing it, and most manufacturers will give you that in a spreadsheet.
They will, and that's very important. That's a good point, Walter, because I can tell you a number of shops that do it that way. We've got one shop back in Florida, Glenn's MG, and he buys parts for MGs. Well, very few vendors sell parts for MGs anymore, but Moss Motors does. One of the bigger British car parts ordering houses out there, but they don't have online ordering. And so what he does is he gets a CD from Moss Motors or a download from Moss Motors every 6 months, and he goes ahead and he imports it into a system. Once you import it in, then it runs it against the matrix to reprice everything. So literally, it's a great way to go ahead and reprice his parts, because what's happened is he not only has the parts in his catalog, but he's got a good portion of those parts in his inventory as well. So he'll get the CD or the download from Moss Motors, drop it into his inventory utility. It updates that inventory utility with the latest parts and the latest prices. And then he goes ahead and he runs the catalog against his inventory, and it riffles through his inventory and updates his inventory to the latest prices as well, just based on what Moss Motors sent him in that download.
So you actually have the opportunity, if I recall correctly, when you import that catalog, don't you have an opportunity that says if there's not a match, you can add that part to inventory or not?
Exactly right. So when it sees that, let's say you have a big spreadsheet a big list of inventory parts, and maybe that particular vendor has added a whole new line of parts. There's another 50 or 100 or 500 parts added to it. When you go ahead and you import that catalog in there, it will update that catalog with the latest parts. Then you can go ahead, if you choose to, and let's say you want all those parts in your inventory as well. So rather than having to add those in one at a time from a list that somebody gives you, you could just go ahead and say, okay, tell MaxxTraxx to go to that particular catalog, find all the latest prices, and find any new parts that are in the catalog, and it will automatically update the prices in your inventory list, and it will add any parts that aren't in it to the inventory list. So it's a quick way
internal, yeah, okay.
to your internal inventory list. It'll quickly add 50 or 100, 500, 5,000 parts to your inventory list without you having to type them in with the latest prices and descriptions and costs.
Okay, so that's what we were doing with Jerry's Yamaha with those 17,000 part numbers, right?
Exactly.
Because we added that. Okay, so the way that we did that, guys, real quick, was
it's a great way to get. I'm just going to say it's a great way to get a large amount of parts into your inventory without having to type them in.
Right.
Go
So
ahead.
we went to the utility, import the catalog data. This is the first step that we did. So we would find, it was an Excel spreadsheet, and it would say, okay, I want to import this Excel spreadsheet. And this wizard just takes you to a screen where you match your columns, the pricing and the cost and the part number or part description from their spreadsheet, and then you match it with your data entry fields, and then it just runs it all in here. So once it's imported, this is the import utility. Wish I had some example for you. Then you go over to Parts Manager and then update parts list with catalog pricing. So what this did, then it would say here, Yamaha. And then if we hit the wizard, it would give me an option here that says add parts to inventory if not found.
And update your costs and your prices too.
Right. Well, it's set to automatically do all that, but we
Sure,
decided,
but you
well,
right.
yeah, yeah, if I didn't want to do all these price levels, right.
Sure.
But he actually did them all. So he actually put that in. Yeah, great question, Derek. I really, really appreciate you bringing that.
Is it possible from that importing catalog that you have the catalog list with the pricing set up, but you only bring the parts over into your parts list or your inventory list when you sell them rather than bringing the whole thing in, or is that not possible?
Oh,
it is possible.
That's when you do it here. You would just look it up. Yeah, look it up from here, and this will let me, find it through my catalog.
Derek, right now, at this point, it's going out to that external bucket.
Okay,
and it's your choice whether you move it from this bucket into your inventory bucket. That's your choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's kind of what I was trying to get at. So that rather than putting in 500 parts, you could just take, okay, I'm selling that one, and then include that into your inventory list as a buyout, and then you can kind of track it for a little while or whatever.
Exactly how it works. That's the design.
Exactly. Well done. Yeah. Good one,
So,
Derek.
Great.
Do any of you guys have a product line that you could see using this for? Either a tire or a vintage parts line or a chemical line, or
I would say tires for me. That's for sure.
It's great for tires.
I don't sell a lot of tires, but it comes in spurts. We're rurally located, so everything is up and down. But I'm finding that whenever I want, for instance, tire pricing for estimates, I'm forever having to call the vendor and get the current pricing and this and that. And I could see where if I could get to my IT person from my tire vendor to send me, whenever they do a price update, just to email me the whatever file it is, Excel file or whatever, and then I would have it on hand. And then it's kind of like having another way to do online parts lookup, so to speak, except it's not really online. It's just like Walter mentioned, you're going to another, a different bucket. You're going to that other,
exactly
cabinet, if you will.
And you can have as many other cabinets as you want to. You could have 50 other buckets if you wanted to. One with Toyo tires and one with something else, and as many as you wanted to, and then you could pull them in as you wanted.
Yeah, very good. So we have a bunch of other people on the call, so let's Saray, did you have any particular questions you wanted to ask in today's open forum?
I think I actually sent in an email asking about some of the marketing.
Oh, you know what? I did not get it. I shut down my email about a half an hour ago. Did you send it before or after?
I think I sent it this morning around 10 a.m., but we've been trying to, anytime a customer calls for an estimate, we've been telling them we can't give you any form of estimates over the phone, but if you let us collect a little information, I'll be able to email it to you in about 10 minutes. So we've been taking their phone number, email address, year, make, and model, and we've been entering them in the system and emailing them their estimates and then giving them a call. We were trying to find a way to keep those customers on a separate list so that we can go after them as far as marketing is concerned, so we can maybe try and email them incentives to come in.
That's an interesting one. We actually have the ability to write a quote. And
That's what I've been using, but we're trying to keep the customer's information in order to use that for marketing.
That's brilliant. Yeah, you can create a marketing tag, couldn't you?
You can create a marketing tag, but we don't have a separate list built into the program, although that's not a bad idea. But you can separate people out by marketing tag.
Marketing tag. Now, so if I use that marketing tag, would I be able to export that list so we can send it to our IT guy and he can email all those customers?
You know what? Let's do a test. So we're going to add you in.
Okay.
And so we're going to leave it just kind of, let's...
Go back.
You know what?
You bypassed it.
I did. I bypassed the tag. So right here, I could call this quote. This is going to be my marketing tag. They called in for a quote.
Okay.
So if I were to do a quote, so I can actually just save you. I don't have to add your vehicle at the moment. So now, so I've just created a customer record, and we don't even have to have a year, make, and model, do we, Mark? Not really.
No, you don't have to. I mean, it's a customer.
Yeah. So I can go into marketing. So I'm going to do print mass marketing, and we could add a letter and call it quote, or thank you for calling in for your quote. We'd love to earn your business, whatever it is. Let's just call it a thanks letter for the moment. So let's select that one, and now I could say I'm going to send this, you called in for a quote, please come visit us, or here's a 10% coupon or something. Then I could say customer marketing tag, and the marketing tag was quote. And I want to show me the letters before I continue. So you'll see, here's the letter. So just by giving a marketing tag to that new customer, I think it is brilliant that you enter your customer in if they call in for a quote. People go back and forth. Do I just make it a quick quote and give them a customer name in the vehicle so I can look it up again? Or do I add them to my customer database? Some people don't want to clutter their customer list with people that have never been in before. But I actually think anybody who has called us and has expressed interest in business with us, I want to communicate with them. So I think I would create a customer record, give them a marketing tag as quote, and then you can always go back here whether or not they actually did any work with you. You can communicate with them. I think that's a brilliant idea. In fact, I'm going to steal it if you don't mind.
Not a problem. Is this only possible for the marketing letters, or can I also use this as like an email campaign as well?
Not yet. Not yet. The ability to email out marketing letters is not in yet, and it will be not in the next release, but the release after that. And we'll have both email and SMS texting.
And that was my next
you'll be able to send a text message to them as well if you choose to.
Yeah, that was my next question. So not this next update, but the one after that, we'll be able to do texting and emailing?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm going to throw one other strategy out there because I do think this is incredibly brilliant. If a customer has reached out, or they're not a customer, they're a prospect, they've reached out to you, it doesn't get a whole lot richer than that. But one of the things that we did was we printed out that quote, and we stuck it in an envelope, and 3 days later, we would call those people back, and we'd say, listen, tomorrow we've got a light day. I can give you a 10% discount. And I can tell you one customer that we literally got 7 vehicles off that callback because the guy needed a clutch, and he said, wow, first off, you're the only one that called me back. You're not the cheapest, but you're not the most expensive. He brought his vehicle in. He didn't need a clutch. He needed a slave. We got 7 vehicles off that one callback. It separates you from your competition. Your competition is not going to call them back 3 days later and make them some kind of deal. And so if they didn't make that decision today, then it's likely they're not going to make it for a few days. 3 days gives a little bit of time. And tell them, you know what, we've got a couple openings tomorrow, and it's a one-day deal, and we'll give you 10% off, or whatever deal you want to make them. But it's an additional step and a strategy that will really separate you from your competition, and you're really going to be stunned at the results.
May I make a suggestion here also? Use the proactive marketing as a callback list as opposed to a letter list. So what you can do is you can go ahead and you can, when you've got that customer up and you've created them as a quote customer, you can assign letters to them to go out in 3 days, 6 days, whatever, and then it'll pull up and you can see all the letters they're supposed to go out, and it'll say right there, callback, okay, or you know, or whatever you want to create. You just create letters that aren't necessarily letters. They're just reminders for the most part to go ahead and use that as your callback list as opposed to as an email or a regular mailing list.
That's true. You know, back in the olden golden days when we were on the DOS version, that's exactly what we did because we took care of fleets. And fleets had to have 90-day bid inspections, BIT inspections, and they needed to have DOT inspections. So what we did is if it was a postcard, that was a call. If it was a letter, that was a letter. So that we actually used postcard. You know, I wonder if we could even
Why don't you create one? Why don't you create a callback one, Sabrina? Just create a quick callback postcard.
And this is really all we did. Or, you know, I take it back. At the time, which wouldn't pertain to Surrey's situation, but we actually put in here BIT or DOT, so we knew when we were calling them what we were calling them to schedule.
Exactly.
So, you know, I don't even actually really need to put content.
No, nothing needs to go in there. Oh, well, you know what? No, nothing really needs to go in there. Well, you could put their phone number in there.
But this is just my generic letter.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you're brilliant. So put the phone number.
The phone number merge field. Yeah.
Mail merge. Okay.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So edit. Letter text. So I go into this. Is my little mail merge icon, guys. Is a tough one to see, and it's not labeled, so it's a little tricky.
I think. Let's see here. Do we have it there? Yeah, there's phone right there.
Phone.
Right there.
Got it.
Push his phone in.
Actually,
there you go.
Shoot. Well, it's going to have
and put phone in, put their name in, per first name, last name.
Getting all kind of fancy now. First name.
Has anybody out there used the mail merge yet for anything?
No,
oh, yeah.
We usually don't mail things.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant overall.
Just the function. But are you guys? Is mail merge something you've used for anything? Are you familiar with mail merge? How it works? How you can use it to your advantage? Is that something that you guys are all familiar with, or something that's a little bit foreign?
A bit foreign.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is because that'll be something that we'll take and we'll put together either a video or something to address that, because I think it's key, and I think it's foreign to most people. It was foreign to me.
Well, you know, we'll specifically have a mail merge video. That's probably not scheduled, I think, to come out till September if I were to go look at my project plan. We do have a archive marketing webinar that talks in that webinar a little bit about the mail merge, and it talks about creating these letters. But so, for example, so now Saray is my callback person. I can just click OK because I just scheduled this. I assigned this postcard to be sent. Actually left it on today's date so it shows up. So now, yeah, no vehicles yet. So now you can see I have little mail right here in my little mailbox, and I can click on this, And here it says Postcard, Callback. And then if I click in the to print and actually hit print letters, I can actually look at it first. And there, oh, where's my, I didn't enter
You didn't put a phone
for
number
you.
in yet.
I forgot that part, Ray. But it would show up right here. That's
Awesome.
actually a great idea there.
And then you can just go through next, 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 and look at each one and call them back.
Yeah, I only had the one, of course, but yes,
Right,
yeah,
right.
I could check all of these. So you can see, and I'll do a write-up in the follow-up email to this, Saray, and we'll talk a little bit about how to actually step through that so you have more details.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Good
And
suggestion.
there is a prompt. There is a prompt in the lower left corner. It says 5 letters to send. So when you come in the morning, you look down there, you're going to know. You don't have to jump up to the send mail yet, but you're going to know, okay, there's my calls to do.
But my flag's up, Walter. So if I were to actually do all my calls, let's say I want to just delete them. Does you want to delete them? Yes. Let's move this over. Okay, if I were to, I think if I hit refresh, this will work. F5. Let me close down and open back up again. Oh, my mail's still up. Oh, you know, I have some stuff.
Still says has 4 letters. Yeah, because
Because mine's jammed up. A long story, but yeah, I actually have other ones in there still.
Right. When you don't have any letters to send for that day, the flag goes down and the mailbox is empty.
Empty.
So you can always just look at that real quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of just a quick little thing to look at. We actually did this every day. We had a dedicated marketing gal. I mean, she did a bunch of things, parts, she was shell service, but we actually called back our customers. Every single customer that ever came in got a call back. Now, maybe a third of them got contacted because she ended up having to leave voicemails, but we had the shop that we worked at last had quite a marketing engine going, so it was very effective, I have to say. So good questions, Ray. Sonia, do you have any questions for us today?
Well, since I haven't really started using the program yet, I'm just brand new, so I really don't know enough about it to ask anything.
No, not at all. Well, I hope you're finding some of this useful.
Well, it is to some extent. I can see that a lot of what you're talking about really doesn't pertain to us because we don't do any catalog ordering. We're not that type of shop. I guess we could be, but we don't.
Who's your number one and number 2 part supplier?
Well, I don't know.
Are you general repair, Sonia, or are you more?
No, we're a diesel shop.
Okay.
So you know how this is going to work great for you, Sonia, is if on the stuff you're not doing online ordering, and most truck vendors are not. That's my background is truck. But where this is going to be really great is any brand that you buy a lot of, maybe it's seals. Maybe you're buying national seals, and the guy doesn't do online ordering. There you go is one of the buckets we're talking about. You're going to be able to go to whoever you do buy them from, and they all have it because that's how they maintain their parts ordering. Is that same Excel spreadsheet they use, they'd make available to you. Now you would have a bucket with every national seal known to man sitting in that bucket, but it's not sitting in your inventory. It's just sitting out there, and so you would just click on it and say, I want to go to my national catalog, and there's a 720-254 seal, and I need a pair of those, and some 2081s, and I need some of those, and oh, by the way, we're going to keep 2081s in stock, so I'm going to make that a stocking part. So you'll be able to have that functionality, and it's something we'll walk you through the creation of that catalog. So you're not going to have to do it on your own. But that's kind of why I was hoping that you would come, is so that you would see that these are some of the things that we can do for you to really make this really worthwhile for you.
Okay.
Right.
Well, yeah, that sounds like it would be helpful if, like I said, we don't do anything like that, but that would be great to be able to.
Well, where we're at as far as our training videos, right now we have 65 training videos on our website available. And we have on a project plan that actually extends through the end of the year and into the beginning of next year, about 200 total. And part of that entire training video series, we're eventually going to pretty much hit every single feature in the system, in addition to the new features that come out with each new update, each new release. So, but I just want to remind you that never hesitate to call us, and even if it's just more, I really want to accomplish this. What are some ways to do that one-on-one? We're more than happy to give you that feedback and show you some tools on what, how the system can handle that. Because there's so much in there, and I'll tell you, I learn something new almost every day. If I'm talking to customers, I learn something new every day. So there's so much in there. It's just finding the right situation that, like, oh, wow, we got this great feature. Let's go ahead and apply it. So, yeah, great things. And if you do want any more explanation on how to go through this, setting up the importing the catalog and then actually updating your parts list with the catalog, you just give us a call. We do, of course, have that in the user manual, but sometimes the written stuff is a little tough. I understand that. So okay. Good questions.
Thank you.
So a couple other folks on the call. Nick, you came in a little bit late, but you're on the speaker. You have any questions for us today? I have to tell you, I credit Nick with giving me suggestions like crazy for the last, probably the last 6 of the last 12 webinars. Thank you, Nick. Paul, I got you on the phone.
I get suggestions all the time.
Yeah. Paul, do you have any questions for us today? And make sure, I do see that Nick and Paul are both on microphone and speakers. You guys know that you can always click on the little Go to Assist button in the upper right-hand corner and click on telephone. And when you click on, instead of microphone and speakers, click on telephone, up pops a telephone number that you would call in to get into the call. So, okay, Nick's going to call in. I saw him just right now.
Yeah, that's the best way to go. While he's doing that, Sabrina, I want to show you one more thing as far as the marketing we were talking about and the customer follow-up and phone calls. You could go to if you can go to reports for me.
Yes.
And go to marketing.
Oh, the marketing.
And go to letters and postcards due.
Okay.
And just open that up.
Okay.
Okay, what you have here is this is also used as a callback list. It has the name of the letter. It also has the customer, and it has the phone number right here as well. So you could print out this or just view it, and it's the same thing as what we did before by printing out the letters on the letters and actually printing them out and looking at each individual one. This does the same thing but in list format.
I see. So we have this if we're doing thank you letter. The other one, Mark, which
or I'm talking about calls. This could be your callback. So you'd have a letter name called callback, and then you would have the phone number right there to do the phone call. So there you would have all your callbacks, callback quote, callback whatever.
Would it be possible? Would it be possible to add the email addresses on this list or no?
Yeah, certainly we could, and as we get the email functionality in there, it definitely will go in, but I'll make sure that gets in there.
So the other one, Mark, that when I finally discovered this, I was so excited, is the customer follow-up report. See, this is what we used to do with the letters, but now once we have this report, I'm like, wow, we would use this report. So I would say anybody that's been in my shop, let's say in the last, I'm going to say since July 1, and remember, guys, this is demo material, so I don't know what I have in here. So this is every customer, obviously, just me and Walter. This is just every customer that's been in this date range. And again, the date range is in the bottom, the very bottom of this report, the lower left. So let me go back to the top. So what I have here, I have the customer's name, their invoice number, I got their telephone number, when they picked up their vehicle, and then the dollar amount that they spent. So, if this is a $7,000 or $3,000 ticket, you definitely want to, make sure you're following up and making sure they're happy, with a really big job. We actually have had a few people say, well, could you put down what you did? The problem with that is this report, that could get really big. I don't know, Mark, if we might have an ability on this customer follow-up report to check a box that says detailed or summary, and the detailed would actually put down maybe just our reasons for service.
Absolutely, we could do that. We actually did this, how we do a lot of features is we'll put it out in kind of a minimal format and then kind of wait for the comments. And
okay.
So, yeah, and sometimes what we say is we wait for the screams. You know, why can't we have this or why can't we have that? And because we hadn't thought of it up front, or we were afraid to put it in because sometimes we over-engineer. We put
right.
something in there that is way more than what somebody wants. So what we've learned to do is to create it kind of in a minimal basis and then kind of wait for the input. And that's something that has been input. And so we're going to go ahead and give you the ability to say show detail or don't show detail. And you don't have to print it out. It's not like you're wasting paper. You're wasting screen space is about it. So you can scroll down forever on that.
So when we clicked on Run Report and put in the date, we'll have like an extra filter right here that maybe like a checkbox that says add reasons for service or something like that. Now, yeah, it'll make your report a lot longer, but that might be valuable. So you know when you're calling, because what our gal did was she actually had the old invoices in her. So she was looking. She says, well, I have all their information. I knew how much they spent, and I have the repair order right here, so I know exactly what we did. But this report is so handy, so that would be great. Good one. Really good one. Okay, so sorry, Nick, I just unmuted your phone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Nick.
I've been in and out listening to you guys in the background here.
No problem. Plus, we are going to archive this, so if you guys had to take care of a customer, you could always go back and listen. We just got that email from you last week with all those great suggestions. Appreciate it. So,
right.
What are your questions today?
I don't really have any. I was just listening.
Okay. Well, like I said, we have to thank Nick for most of the webinars that we did in May and June because they were all Nick's idea. So, good one there. And so, Paul, I'm not sure if you are on speaker. If you don't have a microphone, you know, the other thing I was thinking of doing is doing a training video on how to log on, how to register, log on, and attend a webinar. Now that you guys have all been through it, would a video on our website showing you how to actually attend a webinar, would that have been helpful?
It wasn't that difficult.
Okay.
It wasn't for me.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never had a hard time.
Okay. Okay. It was just a thought that we might want to do that, just because some folks they would come in on the speak in the microphone each time and never know that you could actually just click it, the little go to assist button, choose telephone, and then get that dial-in information. It defaults, unfortunately, just to speakers and microphones. But that's something we wanted to offer. Okay, well, I think this has been a great hour. I think everybody had fabulous questions, really gave us some food for thought. And, of course, we're always taking suggestions and recommendations all the time for developing the products. So I'll send a follow-up email and talk a little bit about the ability, you know, how we can go ahead and actually schedule. I guess we were talking about scheduling calls and then being able to run a report based on marketing tags. So I'll write that up in the follow-up email. And then if you guys have any other questions about today's webinar, just reply and we'll get back to those right away.
Right.
So since a lot of folks, you guys know, this next month, in the month of August, we are doing the MotorTraxx to MaxxTraxx 4-part webinar series. So it's not going to be specifically about features, but if you guys are new to the system, you might find some of the information helpful, predominantly the webinar number 2 and number 3. So thanks for attending, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.